good evening. It's nice that we had among the eminent speakers of our renewable energy seminar conducted on 4th March at Golconda, you among one of them and shared your views. I would like to share the same with many of the delegates or the entrepreneurs who are interested to enter into the solar arena. Kindly tell us what is existing in the solar field of Andhra Pradesh, what it should be done, what is actually happening according to a vast experienced personality like you. Our audience would like to hear you, sir, please.
Hello, this is I'm Satyam.B. I'm the founder and the CEO of Silica. We actually make smart grid technologies, complete hardware product, software products in India, right here in Hyderabad. I'm proud to say that. And based on decades of experience in the world, mostly in US, in AT&T, Large, Deloitte and Touche, and many companies. So over the past 6 years, we've been focusing on smart grid and energy sector, and also overall as a clean tech. Clean tech is the area of energy management, conservation, and a lot of renewable energy. Now, in this experience, what we are finding, now coming to Andhra Pradesh, now there are 3 scales of energy, solar, renewable energy that we're seeing in Andhra Pradesh. One is the megawatt scale, the utility scale that is connected to the grid, and you actually have the power that is going straight into the grid, where you have larger companies setting them up. The second tier is the captive power, where an industry or commercial may have set up a plant on top of their building, or they actually have a specific arrangement with some solar plants, whatever the scale. And the third one is the rooftops for end consumers. 1 kilowatt or less, or 2 kilowatts in that range. So these 3 ranges have different types of issues, and also something that everybody should be aware of. The first thing at the megawatt scale, AP government, AP policy, the Transco has released a solar policy where they have conducted a bid, and there are a number of companies. Actually, the AP government, the bid was oversubscribed by almost like 2 times, which is a very good indication compared to many states in India. That shows that the AP Transco's power purchase agreement has a lot of value in terms of the government or the Transco is going to pay for the energy that is produced by the solar plant, which is very good. Now, the typical issue that there are 2-3 issues that come into picture. First thing is pricing. Now, pricing in India, we always try to get this L1, all that. But if you keep pushing for L1, what happens is, if it right now it is kind of established that it costs about 7-8 crores to produce 1 megawatt of solar. And in order to, the price that works out is anywhere around 7.5 to 8 rupees. So 7.5 to 8.5. The large companies like Lanco and Welspun, after their experience with the hundreds of megawatts, they are not bidding for anything less than 8 rupees because O&M costs are very, very big. That means once the plant is set up, first thing is you need quality work, quality components to make the plant, which is very, very important. Then even more important is being able to maintain it well for the next 25 years. Otherwise, a thin film will have a huge rough film of dust that will make the whole plant useless. So these tens of crores of money will actually be wasted. So with that in view, what Lanco and Welspun have done is they're not quoting for anything less than 8 rupees. So the government, when they look for these L1s, instead of looking for the bottommost L1 and pushing everybody into it, and eventually making the projects fail, either in the beginning they cannot commission because they cannot get all the material under that cost, or 2-3 years later they cannot maintain the plant. Eventually, the businessmen, the financials who are lending it to it, consumers, government, everybody will be losing. So make sure that the government should look into having a purchase price, PPA, which is good for business, When you have maybe 5 or 10 gigawatts of solar power, and then you can play with this thing based on the knowledge, instead of trying to squeeze every penny out of the businessman. So the advice to obviously the people who are setting up the plants, be very, very careful about the technology you're using because it is complex. In one end, it doesn't look complex, but it is complex. The simplest of the things you may not be even able to commission your plants. The plants that are been started in Rajasthan, Gujarat, many of them have not been commissioned. You should talk to the experienced people because the construction is not good. And then whatever is constructed and commissioned, the production is going down and these people don't have any clue. So focus on these two aspects. When you set up a plan, don't compromise expertise. Expertise is not something you get from off the street from anybody who talks about solar. Unless somebody has done tens or 20s of megawatts earlier, you will not be able to execute the plan properly. Okay, this is one. The second tier is the captive. Now, captive, the biggest thing that people talk about is RECs. Now, the purchase price is one thing, maybe 5-6 rupees or so, whatever, 7 rupees, that a company like, let's say, L&T Cyber Towers may take it, give us a PPA to privately to a solar or some producer. So the price is one thing, but then everybody talks about RECs. Now, how is the REC enforced? RECs come from a market where the renewable purchase obligations that have been written into law by the state policy, which is what should be obligation of the discounts mostly and some companies to be exercised on them. So they go out and actually purchase these renewable energy certificates from an open market. Now the problem is, the discounts are already in trouble. They don't have money. 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 crores of losses. So where will they get the money to purchase RPO, fulfill their RPO obligations? Secondly, if they really want to do something with some force, who's going to actually pay for it? It is the consumers. REC is eventually paid by the consumers, not discounts. Because the money comes from the consumer's pocket, eventually. So already their losses are going to the consumer pocket, taken out from the consumer pocket. Now REC also eventually will come from the consumer pocket. Why all this round and round and round? So this entire thing needs to be put down properly in a practical way. So for those getting into captive and all, I would say RECs are something you should not consider at this point unless there is a much more clarity from the state government or the central government on that. Till that time, don't consider it and do your entire business model without REC. That way you can have a business that is delivered and that can be maintained over a number of years. Otherwise, you and your financial and etc. will all have issues. Now third level is rooftop. Now rooftop, again the consumer, there are many businesses that are starting up here and there and all that, many of them. Everybody is getting interested. Now one question that I hear from these people is, they want to find a Sucam or Tata and actually get a dealership. What do you do after doing a dealership? Oh yeah, anybody who comes in, I want to sell it. How do you sell it? Do you know how to size how much of load the customer has? What kind of panels? Do you have the electricians to fit in? No, I don't have anything. I'll figure it out. What do you mean figure it out? This is complex. If you don't know, anyone who's doing the rooftop solar, they need to get proper electricians, proper engineers who can actually size it properly and do a good quality work. If you don't, the entire sector will have a bad name. It's not like Sucam does a bad panel or Tata does a bad panel or most of them does a bad kit. If it is not installed properly, then it will actually have a lot of issues. The wirings and the terminations, right? When you have to put down these connections, the basic stuff which a decent electrician has to do. So make sure that you get the proper experienced people and train them properly, do a good job. Otherwise, it will actually impact the entire sentiment. Right now, we're all playing with the end consumers who are dying, and that's who you need to help. And I really wish they should do a good job. Now, coming to net metering again, the confusion is, what do you do with the extra power that is left when I'm not using on a Sunday in a company or at home when I'm on vacation? This entire thing should be going back to the grid and I should be getting paid for it. In US, Canada and every other place, for every unit that I produce as solar, at a minimum, my grid power is offset at a minimum. That means this net meter, as it rotates, if I'm taking from the grid, it actually moves forward. And if I'm giving to the grid a solar power, it actually moves backward. At least there's a one-to-one matching. That is a minimum. Now what Tamil Nadu announced right now for net metering is they said they'll actually pay 2 rupees to 1 rupee for each unit of solar power that is put back into the grid. Now again, I'm sure people are talking about RECs. The same REC that is actually not practical to implement. Now you want to do it for the end consumers who are putting the solar on the rooftop. The consumer is actually doing a favor to all the discounts and the entire government. Now how can you again create confusion with this 2 rupees and 1 rupee? So forget about REC that cannot be implemented as of today. Help the consumer and give him something. Okay? So all these 3 segments, there is enormous potential, but anybody is getting in. Do it with a lot of care and diligence. It is not a dealership or it is not an intermediary or a company. And consumers really want solutions. And the government should bring more clarity and also not really look for advance. And I hope all these things come together so that we solve our own problems. God is, Sun is giving us the energy. Let us use it wisely. And we don't have to blame somebody else.
Excellent. One more final question, sir. You have given a beautiful picture of what is happening, what is the remedy. Now tell us, what is the consumer's role, what is the entrepreneur's role, and finally what is the government's role, as short as possible. Define it.
Consumers should look for good people and demand quality installations at their homes or in their companies, as a rooftop. So quality should be insisted. And one thing is, you may look for the price, but if you look for the L1 most or the cheapest, you may or may not get the good quality. At this point, be very careful because there are products out there in the market that's not the best quality. So consumers, you should look for that. But there are good solutions available. You will be very much pleased. You will actually be able to cut down your power cuts and actually have power for your kids when they're going for examinations and throughout the day. So take advantage of the summer for the first time. Instead of really suffering with a paper napkin or a small handmade fan, you can actually take advantage of the summer and get power at home. Okay? That's for the consumers. Now entrepreneurs, make sure that this is a serious work and don't take it easily. Take a lot of care, extra care in the entire business model and use good quality components, good quality O&M. Make sure that what you're putting in should sustain 20 years. Your systems, your costs, everything should sustain those 20 years. Otherwise, you're actually, the financials that somebody is going to lose big time and the entire reputation will be at stake. From the government point of view, again, for the mass mega scale plants, we're still at the beginning. Don't assume that this interest is the one and all. It's not a competition. We really want to put few more, hundreds of gigawatts, many gigawatts of solar power out there. So encourage everyone. Simplify processes, single window processing. If you give an incentive, make it the easiest for the consumer to get it. Make the policy simpler. And when it comes to PPAs and all, make sure that it's done properly. And RECs, at this point, we don't believe it is dependable. So if we can do something about it through whatever other mechanisms, make it dependable. So you actually provide the incentive to actual companies and actual consumers.
So nice of you, sir. You have given wonderful suggestions. I do hope the audience will be enlightened by your vision and version. Thank you so much. So nice of you.